Good morning. Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. Look at me. Look what I'm doing. I'm not making any sense at all here. Oh, jeez. I forgot the microphone. What a silly goose. Move, kitty. Come on. Move. 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 Thank you. Oh, jeez. All right, there we go. Don't you worry now. It's just about time to revel in the majesty. There we go. There we go. Wow. What's up? Me. On the earlier side. I mean, I've been working hard, kinda. Hardly working, kinda, you know. Yesterday, Rachel and I were working on basically a typing service ad made out of clips, but this time I asked Rachel to pick the clips. She's got some. She picked some good ones, and I tell you, one of the funniest things I have ever watched is when I'm asking Amy who her mother's father's wife is. Naturally, your mother's father's wife is your grandfather. But watching her battle with that sentence, that question, I tell you, it makes for some pretty fucking hilarious video. Let me show you how hilarious it is, okay? I just stream whenever I feel like it. But on the plus side, I really think you're going to like this little clip I'm going to show you right now. It's hilarious. It really is. That's not going to work, I guess. Let me do display capture maybe instead. Okay, cancel. Display capture. Alright, good enough for now. Now, check this out. This is what I call truly hilarious stuff. Why have you come to the conclusion that your TI is dissociated? Is it because of the tests that I gave you before and how you performed on them? Or because you've watched more tests and continue to perform equivalently? Did you do that badly?
I feel like I did it. I don't know.
Okay, let me ask you this real quick. Who's my mother's father's wife? In relation to me?
Sorry, your father.
My mother's father's wife?
Okay. Well, your father's.
My mother's father's wife.
So your mother, so grandfather's wife. I just don't know the name of it, but so it would be your grandfather.
It's your grandmother.
Your grandfather's wife is your grandmother.
Because your mother's
Father's
father
wife
is
is your
your
grandma.
grandfather's wife.
Right. Is your grandmother. Just like my dad's wife is my regular mother.
Like with rice and like fish cakes.
Now that's some TI polar. You know? That's some fantastic TI polar. And the great thing about it is it's so authentic and so like I'm glad she's doing well. She's great. She's delightful, you know. Well, yeah, Boba Fett. It's supposed to be that simple, but that's the thing about your polar. Is you're crazy dumb about it. Like, basically, you could think of the polar as making some kind of mistake. A FI tool user makes the mistake of thinking there is no unbiased calculation. The TI tool user thinks everything is subject to unbiased calculation. Both of them are totally wrong, you know. SI polar thinks there is no worthwhile personal experience learning. NI polar thinks there is no way to understand things except through personal experience. SE polar thinks there is no form of action other than talking. You know, NE polar thinks there is no form of action that includes talking. And yeah, maybe I will. Sure, I'll drop in tonight for that thing. But, you know, it's one of the most compelling pieces of evidence we have about cognitive functions is that certain polars display so starkly in contrast with what everybody who doesn't have that polar they just seem like, well, what's wrong with you, you know? But there's nothing wrong with them. Well, FE polar is like there is no perceptual subtext. And TE polar is like, I never have to figure out anything myself. I'll just always ask somebody else how to figure things out. If it's got a non-verbal logic to it, you know. So yeah, our polar is really strikingly blind, you know? When you see that thing with Amy struggling with what to anybody who's not TI polar would be an incredibly straightforward question. But when you see her struggling with it, you realize, oh wow, blind spot really means blind spot, you know? It's like, man, when you see Eric, you see life and realize time flies so fast. It does. Let me tell you, decades pass before you know what's happened, and all of a sudden you're 50 years old. You know? You know, my main concern in life is running out of time. Because I know I'm not good with efficiency of time, and even when I am, it's like it doesn't seem to produce results. So
I'm not impatient really, but I am getting older. And that's a ticking clock that nobody can do anything about, right? Doesn't matter how much smarter or harder you work, you still have less total time left. But I fully expect to live to 100, so I got 50 years left. That's a long time. Yeah, I haven't watched Amy's content or video or whatever, but good for her. I mean, YouTube requires a lot of, I guess you'd say, equanimity of me, because I see person after person after person start talking about cognitive functions after me and grow to be much more successful than me very quickly. So there's always the possibility that I start getting a little hatery, I guess. Well, Boba Fett, I mean, that's the great thing about being TI polar, is most of life doesn't involve stuff that's universally applicable abstractions. So, FI polar, I mean, TI polar shouldn't struggle in their relationships, but I think what ends up happening is they're not very monogamous. Like, interestingly, right, I'm incredibly monogamous, because FI is too scary an area to get involved in. I want to get a relationship locked down so I don't have to worry about my feelings at all. So in other words, they're sluts. They're filthy, filthy sluts. Right, well, that may be good advice, but it's advice I can't seem to follow. Just wing it. Why bother thinking? Yeah, no matter how good that advice is, I am constitutionally unable to follow it. Oh, kitty, wonderful. Who's a wonderful pistachios? You're my wonderful pistachios. Yes, you are. I'm not Eric Thor. You've mistaken me for someone successful. So let's talk a little bit about morning lung. Morning lung is a phenomenon you get where you can't really pull that many bong rips first thing in the morning because you have morning lung. I've got a little bit of morning lung right now. You just need to ease into the day's bong rips. That's the key thing, or else you'll cough too much. And like I just coughed a bunch, and I got those little stars in front of my eyes. It's not good to get those. It means you've got like a minor concussion, sort of. But it took me a lot of years to realize that those old cartoons where they show somebody getting punched and then they see stars, that references something real in life. It's not just a mugity, you know. Eli Laus, yes I am. It is indeed. Is your last name Yes I Am? Eli Laus? Yes, I am. I like that. If you're like me, you watched the soccer game yesterday. We're somewhat disappointed to see the Italians win in penalty kicks. But I tell you, there was this guy on the English team named Saka, who was a teenager that they put on the team, the youngest player on the team. Every game I watched England play, he did nothing but turn the ball over and fuck up. And then, sure enough, for whatever reason, they put him in as the last penalty kicker for England when they needed a penalty kick to tie it up. And of course, no. Saka had a terrible fucking tournament. Saka had a terrible tournament. I was yelling at the coach to pull his ass out all tournament long. Why is Saka in there? Put in Grealish and pull out Saka. Saka sucked ass. He just continually screwed up the whole tournament. You know, it's like who did the English had these several players who looked really good. Sterling looked really good. Kane looked really good. Kane's a tricky motherfucker, I tell you, that guy. Grealish always brought good energy to the team when he came in. Floppy hair, I called him. Saka was just Saka. You know? There ain't no disputing it. He was the suckiest guy on the team. Have I ever heard Kane talk? No. I'm not that into soccer. I just like to watch international soccer matches. I don't watch Major League Soccer. I don't really watch Premier League Soccer or anything like that. I just watch the internationals. So I've never heard him talk. In fact, it took me a few games to start to learn the names of the players on the British team. Even I started the tournament not knowing any of the players. Croatian firefighters are awesome. What makes them particularly awesome? They fight fire with their bare hands? Now that's impressive. We don't use any water. No. I just clap the fire to death. Well, also, you know, the announcer said England's policy is to put its best PK takers first. Now, I get that. It sort of makes sense, but it also means you're putting your best PK takers in the spots where there's the least pressure. In that regard, I think it's backwards. You should have your best ones go later because they're the ones who are more likely to make it under the increased pressure, you know? But what do I know about soccer? I don't know. I'm just I'm no expert on soccer or anything, but I do like to watch it. I've watched World Cups and stuff for years now. I worked at World Cup. If you haven't heard this story before, I've mentioned it in the past. I worked during the World Cup that was, the final was at the Rose Bowl here in Pasadena, and there were other preliminary games of the Rose Bowl. That tournament where Italy and Brazil, I think they went to PKs as well, whereas the final at the Rose Bowl, I think it was 1990. I worked at that tournament, that World Cup. I was an usher at the Rose Bowl, and so I got to see a lot of games live. That was the first time I'd ever I was like, why are all these people going to see soccer? I had no idea even that it was popular all over the world until I worked at that tournament, and I saw these people flying in from all over the world to go see these soccer games. Until that moment, I didn't even know soccer was that popular, you know? And I was stunned. It's like, how in the world do so many people like soccer, of all things? It's like, what a dumb sport. But you know what? I was wrong. It is super entertaining to watch. If you get like internationals, like the Euro Cup and stuff, oh my god, it's so entertaining. I love those tournaments. They're fantastic. But I will say this, that soccer players, if I could change one thing about soccer or the universe in general, for example, it would be every time, no matter, even if it's true, so it doesn't matter, it's like, even if you hurt yourself legitimately in soccer, there should be a rule that prohibits you from displaying pain. I am so tired of seeing soccer players get touched, barely, fall on the ground, and writhe in agony, only to hop right back up and start playing again 5 seconds later. There should be a rule against displaying pain. If you display pain, instant yellow card, no matter whether you actually are in pain or not. That's what I would do to fix soccer. Because the diving is just, it's an infestation in the sport. The diving, the complaining, it's like you've got all of the Latin people in the world, be they South American, Italian, or Spanish, or Portuguese, or whatever, going like this. Oh, referee, come on, now, what are you doing? What are you doing? They're always doing that shit to the refs. And it's completely unrelated to reality as to whether or not they deserve to be. It's like, well, I mean, part of the strategy of the game is to get into the penalty box area, and then instead of trying to shoot or pass to a teammate, to, as soon as you're brushed up against very lightly, to fall to the ground. Oh my God! Oh, somebody touched me! Oh my God! It's like, you fucking fragile little baby, you need to fucking stop this shit. I spend half the soccer game going, lies! Yelling lies at the TV. Yeah, I guess there maybe used to be. I mean, the thing is, I was also surprised when I saw all that anti-racism, all these anti-racism signs and stuff in soccer. It started a while back. But then I'd also hear stories about, yeah, right, like that kind of shit, Broccoli Todd. And so I realized, oh, okay, well, I guess they kind of need to do this. That's kind of nutty, but I guess that's Europe for you, They're used to seeing each other as distinct groups. I think the reason people are interested in Japanese culture in general is because it's so homogenous. And so it's like one of the few cultures where everybody thinks of themselves as Japanese first before they're an individual, and yet it's not authoritarian. So it's a weirdly interesting culture. I've been watching some videos on like things like mistakes foreigners make in Japan that are really like shocking to Japanese people that seem like what to foreigners. Like, if you talk on the train, you talk to your companion next to you on the train, everyone looks at you with like, what are you doing? Everyone is silent on all trains, transportation, elevators. It's weird. But it's also interesting listening to the Japanese students talk about how their foreign teachers, when they have foreign teachers, the teachers seem really nice and engaging compared to their Japanese teachers. That some Japanese students were saying it's the foreign teachers want to talk to you. It's like, what, you Japanese teachers don't want to talk to you? No, they don't, because it's a strictly hierarchical society. So you've got, the older, you stay with your own age group, kind of. I am so ill-suited for my age group that would not be good for me. Well, see, I mean, the thing is, I get sort of why there would have been racism in international soccer. And the reason is because when Japan fields a team, everybody on the team is obviously Japanese. Visually Japanese, right? When Sweden fields a team, only some of the people on the team are obviously Swedish, right? Of course, America's used to this. America's used to having its teams filled with different looking people. But, I mean, nobody thinks of Americans as looking this way or that, right? It's like, it's a very diverse country. So, at least on the coasts. But in other countries, it's more of a, people have more of an opinion about what those people look like, you know? But I do think that a great Halloween costume, as I mentioned before, it's a couple's costume. Rachel goes dressed as a referee. I go dressed as a soccer player. And then at a Halloween party, anytime I brush up against someone at the Halloween party, I throw myself to the floor and grab my ankle and writhe in pain. And Rachel runs up and gives the other person a yellow card. Oh, really? Well, Harley Hub, I don't know if you're aware of this, but races don't actually exist. They're just make-believe. People look different from each other sometimes, but there's no such thing as a race. Except for the kind you run. It's weird how people can still be racist even though there are no races. In fact, being racist is creating the idea of race again by putting it onto somebody, right? Like, Rachel kept getting Sterling and Saka confused on the British team because they were the two darker skinned fellows on the team. And, But I said to her, well, that's just because they both have dark skin, you know? I didn't say it's because they were both a certain race. Because race is dumb. I agree with Eucalyptus Koala. The players need to be openly shamed for their unmanly behavior, as Prairie Legends fall as well. It's very unmanly of them to fall down and try to, you know, and here's what else happens. Once a team has the lead and time starts ticking down, I mean, this is what I would say about critical race theory. None of the three words there are appropriate for the thing that they're referring to. It's not critical. It's arbitrary. It's not about race. It's about creating groups based on arbitrary criterion once used to oppress groups. And then it's not a theory of any sort. Right? Yeah, it's just being divisive. That's all. On the other hand, I think it's worth pointing out the following. it is absolutely the case that groupism needed to be critiqued. The problem is that the idiots focus on this particular flavor of groupism or that flavor of groupism without recognizing that groupism itself is the problem. Yeah, not the Nazis did critical race theory. Now note, that's not a reason to condemn critical race theory. That would be a genetic fallacy. But nevertheless, it is true. Keep in mind also, though, everybody needs to relax a little bit about it. It stopped winning debate rounds years ago. And that means the arguments take 10, 15 years to trickle down from competition debate to the real world. The reason critical race theory stopped being run, very commonly anyway, in debate is because it loses. It loses to some pretty simple arguments, too. Number one, I'm blacker than you. It's a great argument. If somebody's saying, vote for me because I'm black and I rode the bus here, say, I'm blacker than you and I crawled on my hands and knees. Unless you can falsify that, I win the round. Under your stupid framework. It's just that simple, you know? It's like why people never run cap caves anymore. People used to run capitalism critiques as a way of winning debate rounds. Until people started going, so where'd you get that laptop? That's all it took. And the cap case went right out the window. If you really want to critique capitalism, why are you debating here on your MacBook? Yeah, I mean, Rick and Morty's smart, by and large. So is Demogorgon Demon Windu? It's also the first thing I thought when I saw the name. But I don't think it is. I don't think it is because he writes differently than Demon Windu. And I don't think it is because he removed that a comment that I wanted to quote, you know. Demon Windu would not do that probably because he's a straight up troll. He just wants to provoke response. It could be. I mean, obviously there's demo, which suggests demon, but regardless, the thing about Demon Windu / Demogorgon, whatever you want to call a person like that in general, is the amount of effort they have to put in to provoke a response makes this a poor economy for them. And then the response they get is just pretty dismissive, pretty convincingly dismissive, you know? So it's kind of a terrible place to troll like that. To some extent, most people who spend a lot of time writing comments like that are going to necessarily end up those are going to represent positions they actually hold, or they're just really confused or something like that, you know? To a certain extent, we afford. Well, sure. I mean, that's certainly a possibility. It doesn't really matter, is the point, MJ. It doesn't make any difference. Whether he's Demon Windu or just another person that I've encountered who does that, it doesn't matter. You know, that was my first thought as well, was that it was Demon Windu, but you know, it's like, if it is Demon Windu, then his goal is to simply be provocative in ways that let him feel as though he's controlling the narrative to some extent. But on that level, it's just sort of if that's his goal, and it couldn't really be any other goal, then he's just an abject failure at it, because it did provoke a video, but it was a very good video about a subject I wanted to talk about. Now, whether he's a pretend ENFP, actually something else trolling, or an actual ENFP, it doesn't matter. But I tell you, Demon Windu is somebody who has an incredibly large chip on his shoulder. I don't know if it's him or not. But I definitely will say that I don't think of all the people around here who have attempted to do battle, I don't think I've ever encountered anybody quite as persistently chip on his shoulder as Demon Windu. 17X is another good example, sure. Huge chip on the shoulder. Why? I don't know. You know, it's like people, it has to do with people's personal experiences, I guess. I don't feel like I have a chip on my shoulder. I feel kind of like sighing sometimes about what I perceive to be rewarding, like reality rewarding something that's not me, basically. But you know, that it goes part and parcel with being at one end of the bell curve. If you are genuinely ahead of the curve, it means you're not going to be understood quite, and you're gonna have some trouble being understood by your contemporaries. You know, I don't doubt that if I were exactly the same as I am, except somehow a lot dumber, that I'd be a lot more successful as a YouTuber. But it's not a trade I'm willing to make. It looks like Lijo and I are going to possibly make a video together about subjectivity and objectivity. She was texting me based on my, I put up my video about, Lijo doesn't know what subjective means. And as soon as argumentation about which definitions to use is ground argumentation. There's framing, ground, and contention level. Arguing about definitions is ground argument. It's part of framework, but it's distinct from other framing arguments. So framework comprises observations, which are basically things you want established that you don't think you need to prove. Like observation, the sun sets in the west. Okay? That would be part of framework because it's not expected to be argued. Definitions, such a definition would look like, let's say I'm debating we're debating something about foreign policy. And my opponent defines things as foreign, other than the United States, and policy, government plans or whatever. And then I say, no, foreign policy is a term of art. We have to understand it as such. It doesn't mean policy about foreign nations. It doesn't mean the policy of foreign nations. It means policy about foreign nations. My opponent's trying to present a false definition here in order to win the round on a definitional technicality. But, in fact, both the scholarly literature supports my understanding of the term of art, and even conventional dictionary definitions support my definition of the term of art. Nobody understands foreign policy as meaning, U.S. foreign policy as meaning the United States relationship to the policy of other countries. It means our policy towards other countries. So that's what such an argument would look like. And when people have a definitional dispute in competition debate, it's usually somebody wants to use a technical version of the term and somebody wants to use a colloquial version of the term. And then that argument comes down to, there are various cards you can read about which kind of definition is better to use in which kind of context. Well, it's not useless if all you're trying to do is negate, and you're trying to negate on framework grounds or on ground grounds by saying that they're non-topical because they're, it's one of a set of arguments that if you win it, it could be a round winning. If you make it and they drop it, and you extend your topicality argument, you could win the round on that if you do the full shell properly and everything. So it's like if I'm negating and trying to say, oh no, your position on U.S. foreign policy should be negated because you've defined foreign policy incorrectly. This resolution is actually about the policy of countries other than the United States. And he just doesn't respond to it and drops it, and I extend it all the way through. I'm going to win the round on that shit. So that's why you might try to play that game. Now, granted, it's not a particularly great strategy to have definitions that are obviously bullshit, because judges aren't going to fall for that very often. Both sides get a chance to define. So affirmation can define things all they want, but negation has a chance to refute those definitions, right? Right. So presumably in this situation, then, in the first rebuttal speech, the neg provided a counter definition of foreign policy that established their topicality argument. I mean, it ends up being meaningful because the stronger arguments are the stronger arguments. It's like the reason nobody makes those kind of arguments is because they don't win. But you can. Sometimes people do just for shits and giggles, It's like debaters have lots of opportunities to debate topics lots of different ways. And they usually do over the course of their career. And, it's inevitable that some debater says, I want to run Extinction Good. And you go, okay, here's the case for it. It's an anthro case, right? Anthro cases are basically pro-animal, pro-life other than human cases. And there are arguments to be made that the other person's impact that's going to kill all the people is actually a good idea. So it's like sometimes people want to run that argument just for shits and giggles. And that's fine, because it helps everybody understand what arguments withstand scrutiny, which ones don't, and how to defeat all the bullshit, In an old video, you described the idea of the legal system defaulting heavily to the status quo and being very static as horribly misguided. Do you still hold this position? I said that? I'm surprised I said that. Why are you the one making their case? What do you mean, why am I the one making their case? You mean as the coach? For the same reason that the football coach tells a team what plays to run. I mean, the thing is, kids aren't nearly as good enough at coming up with all the various argumentation as I am. But they learn the process by running my good cases. They learn how to argue, and they learn what good arguments are by running my good cases. And I never prevent debaters from doing what they want to do. But there's so much work just in learning my good cases that most of them, it's a while before they start deciding to do their running of their own shit. You know, there's wikis, so everybody uploads their AF cases, or at least the skeletons of them, to. I mean, no, I don't expect them to do research at all. I've learned from many years of experience. It's a waste of time. Now, the thing is, when they're ready, they start doing research independently and cutting their own cards. But cutting cards is a very difficult thing to do, I've determined. It's like almost nobody can do it well. Well, I mean, I've done everything I needed. I've already met my goals there. You know, I've already exceeded my goals, far exceeded them. I didn't really have any goals, but I've achieved at I wouldn't say I've achieved at the highest level there. In other words, I never had a high school national champion or something like that, but I don't feel any need to prove myself in that area anymore. I'm a really, really fucking good debate coach, and that's just all there is to it. But being a really good debate coach, it takes heart and soul, and I don't have all that much heart and soul to devote towards it anymore. I've got other things on my plate, you know? I mean, I think it's interesting, Winston, what you're saying here. The species problem is the long-standing failure of biologists to agree on how we should identify species in the abstract. The reality is this. The species problem emerged because scientists wanted to eliminate the definition of species because it kept falsifying evolution. So don't get it backwards, okay? The reason there's a species definition problem is because defining species well falsifies evolution, and everyone's clinging to evolution. So let's not get it backwards. We have a perfectly good definition of species, that which, when two individuals of it reproduce, generates a reproductively viable offspring. It's a perfectly good definition of species, but it does falsify evolution. Fractal Mega Multiverse of Observational Ontological Big Bang Bomb. Boom. We ran that one time. We ran that case. That the gist of the warrant was this. It was some sort of privacy surveillance case, and the gist of the warrant was minimizing the amount of surveillance reduces the amount of observations, and observations generate the multiverse, and thus literally trillions of potential universes are destroyed every time we limit the capacity of individuals to observe. And that's a bigger impact than it's just absurdity, right? But if you run it well, if you make the case well enough and put it together well enough, then it can win. You know, and that's the beautiful thing about debate is the kids have to be prepared for things they've not encountered before, and they've got to, and so what ends up happening is the best debaters learn to attack categories of arguments. Even if they don't understand the specific argument, they can figure out what category it's in and attack that. So, like, how would you answer that? I mean, first of all, what I would say is, how do you measure the quantity of impacts of non-observed universes? And the second question I'd have is, isn't it the case that if I'm prohibited from observing one thing, I'm going to observe something else instead? It's like, it's not like when the government stops surveilling, there's a total different amount of observations occurring. It's just people observing different things. If I'm observing your live chat here right now, then I'm not observing what's going on outside with the birds. So, I mean, yeah, it's an absurd case, obviously. And you got to run stuff like that with other stuff. It's one block. If you expect to win on just that, you're going to be disappointed. If a tree falls in the forest and nobody's there to hear it, but someone is there to see it, does it make a sound? That's a good question. I would say yes, because the person who's there to see it will be able to at least feel the vibrations of it hitting the ground, and then that comprises a sound. That's what I would say about that. One might also argue that well, I mean, I guess one would argue that okay, so then I guess one would have to argue that an observer makes manifest all aspects of an identity, including those not directly observed. So, because identities are complete, namely, a tree is a complete thing, and falling is a complete thing, that that observation of the identity instantiates it, and it comes with everything that it comes with, regardless of whether the observer is capable of observing all aspects of it. So there's the answer to the question. Okay? Yes, observation instantiates identity, which then includes all of the things that go with that identity, regardless of whether the observer is able to observe all aspects of the identity. Yeah, big speaker bass, even deaf folk can dance to it. True. Well, even if it were sound dampening moss, Skygear, I don't think it would be sound eliminating. It would be sound changing to some extent, because you get the soft squish of something falling on moss. Also, some moss is extremely noisy when things fall on it. It screams, ah! It might be that kind of moss. The Big Bang. I mean, in some sense, it's satisfying in that it explains that where things are now is a spot that is from this vector. Like, in other words, we started all the things started all together way over there. And now, many years later, we're all spread apart because something made them all spread apart. Okay, well, that's a good explanation for why things are as far apart from each other as they are, I guess. But it's not a good explanation for anything else. You know, it doesn't answer any real big questions. It's also worth noting that when it comes to sound, like if you look at noise canceling headphones, what they do is they create a wave that matches up with the sound of background noise and stuff, such that it cancels it out. In other words, your ears can't hear it anymore because of the way the waves interact. So most things don't really operate like that, I guess. With light, you can do various things to it, like reflect it, refract it, whatever. But to, I mean, I guess it's like you can't make another. You can't fight light with light. You can't really fight fire with fire. You can fight sound with sound and create silence. You can't add two sounds and create silence. That's weird, right? You can't add two lights together and create darkness. Can you? Okay, this is getting a little sciencey for me, so I might increase my wrongness by about 10 to 20%. Oh my God, it's Eric. It's incredibly surprising, isn't it? Eric's here? Eric? On the internet? No. Isn't he wearing the same shirt he's been wearing for like 4 days? You got me. I'm still wearing this shirt. Should I change my shirt? Maybe I should change it. It depends if I remember to bring a new shirt into the bathtub. Sometimes I just put on the old shirt. Okay, a wild Eric has appeared. Is that from Pokemon Go? Delilah, I called her the other day and said, "What you doing?" She said, "I'm sitting in my car playing Pokemon Go." Why are you sitting in your car? Because I had to drive to I don't know, like a special spot where the Pokemon came out from or something. I can't believe there's so many Squirtles here. I'm gonna totally catch them all. If your theory ever seems too concrete, just abstract your abstractions. First tenet of mathematics. I like you too, bozo. You know what bozo is backwards? Ozob. You're Ozob the Inwolk. That's backwards clown. Well, you know, sometimes you got to make some shortcuts on your way back to reality. You got to take a shortcut between reality and reality called mathematical equivalence. If you love mathematical equivalence and you hate the uncertainty of quantum physics, then come join us today as a member of Only Newton is Right. Only Newton is Right is the name of our organization, in which we deny everything past Newtonian physics, just to keep it simple so that everybody can learn it. Said no one ever, we don't have a base enough algebraic structure. I don't quite get that joke, but I like it anyway. Let's create magmas. I love magma. How in the world do you make something abstract more abstract? Well, that's easy enough. You just frame up a level. So it's like physics is the abstraction of the laws of the physical world. You know, the reason why this falls at meow feet per second when I drop it is that's abstracting something that actually happens, right? Now, if I ask a question, well, how do we know that's universal besides just the fact that every time we test it, it comes out that way? That's an epistemological question, and that's framed up a level. And then if you ask, well, how do we know who and why, asks questions like, how do we know that that the rate of acceleration falling is universal besides just by testing and it always turns out that way? Well, then we've abstracted up another level. And then if you say, well, why am I asking the question that blah, 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 and you've gone up another level. And the end to all of that bullshit is cognitive functions. The reason it's the end of it is because it always goes top level and says, well, why are you asking that question and not some other question? That's as high as you can go. Why am I, why are we behaving as we are? How many dimensions do you want your number system to be? Kaylee and Dixon. N. That's not a number. That's totally not a number. Let me scroll up a little bit. I'm missing something hugely important here. Are spiritually peaced people a roadmap to where we should observe next? Spiritually pissed, you mean? Like, I don't know what spiritually pissed means. Can you just be non-spiritually pissed then? And what would that look like? Talk about hyper-capitalism? What makes something hyper-capitalism? I'm not sure what that is. I gotta make more coffee. I gotta take a short intermission and make a pot of coffee. I'll put on some music for you to listen to while I'm gone. I won't be gone long, don't worry. Just a minute or two. While I'm making a new pot of coffee, fresh and hot and good. It's a taste inside your mouth, a taste that's not like wood. It's a taste of your love and taste again, and taste it all the time. Taste and taste and taste. Taste and taste and taste. Taste it with your tongue.
What time is it?
Caterpillar time. Caterpillar time. It's caterpillar time. Caterpillar time.
It's caterpillar time. Go ahead.
It's caterpillar time.
Back up your mind. Oh, that what we call caterpillar time.
It's caterpillar time.
When I was younger, it seemed that everything gleamed. I don't know what happened to me, but I've lost that sense of urgency, and I don't think that I'll ever see it again. If you follow my lead, you'll discover I'm loster than you, and you'll want to know the way to get back out to wherever it was you thought you knew. And tomorrow will be just like today. I'll be lost then too. It's a matter of mood as much as a matter of will, and the things I do and the directions I point to still seem a part of me, though departedly. And I wonder, well, it's a matter of mood as much as a matter of will, and the things I do and the direction I point to still seem a part of me, though departedly. Yeah, and I wonder, yeah. And I wonder if I'll ever see them again.
Charlie, Merlin, Charmaline, Railing, Charmaine, and Marmaline. We're arguing regarding sorts of marmalade, mulling, going, and chocolate caramel gargling. The point between regarding me alarmingly alarming like alarmist towards anomaly. Criterion with this homily and juiceless wavy homily, and subsequently following the fever garble garbling. Charlie, Marlene, and Charmaline, Railing, Charmaine, and Marmaline, and argued long regarding which matter was most alarming. They argued somewhat slurringly and all four talking currently until Railing and Charmaline and also darling Marmaline felt all array of bad and mean and eager to start bartering. Secession of this arguing. Marmaline thinks up the yarn and speakers says all armor none, but Charmaline thinks her the ground waits until she speaks and tell Marmaline when he picks up the yarn.
And I'm back. Hi, my name's Capillo, and I'm a very, very important kitty. I'm here today to talk to you about cognitive functions. If you have any questions, meow, 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 I'd be happy to meow, meow, answer them, meow, meow. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. That is a beautiful beauty. No, Broccoli Todd. Your cat is much, much uglier than my cat. Well, my cat's too good for that, okay? My cat's imperious. She's Yes, well, she's regal. She's a regent. She's majestic. She's a majesty. She's she's amber waves of Kitty Grain. Isn't that right, Kitty? Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. Daddy loves you. He loves and admires and respects you. Yes. Oh, so important. Oh, so good and true. Oh, so just and fine and special. Oh my gosh. So just and fine and special. I'm feeling love in my heart. It's emotional. Don't you love emotional love? I do. I'm Eric. And I'm a big fan of emotion. You know, it's like, what do you want? More emotion. When do you want it? Now. What do you want? More emotion. When do you want it? Now. Like that. It's like, I'm here, I'm queer, I want some more emotion. Excuse me. Had a little bit of a chest congestion issue there for a second. Right in this region. Oh, you know what? Rachel and I went out and hung out with my friend Dave Porter last night? No, 2 nights ago? Yeah, 2 nights ago. We went to, what's it called? Freaking Matt Denny's on Huntington. And the funny thing is, we went there. First, we were going to go to Chef's. Chef's was closed for some reason. I'm not sure why. And then I said, oh, well, let's go to Matt Denny's. They have Bitburger. Bitburger is my favorite non-alcoholic beer. And Dave doesn't drink either. He quit drinking before I did, but I also quit drinking, and then, you know. So we have non-alcoholic beer in common, among other things. I've also been friends with him for 47 years. 47 years I've been friends with this guy. I was 3, he was 7, and despite that, we still became friends. He's an ISFJ, so that makes sense, right? Duality. And you know, he's a wonderful friend, and I felt a sense of despondency almost at my FI polarness. Hi, Lijo. I'd mentioned to people earlier that you and I, hopefully, will be making a video about objectivity, subjectivity. I haven't answered your text yet, but I definitely want to do that. So let's come up with a time. I know that you probably aren't down to just, let's just do it right now. So you give me the time you want to do it and the day, and I'll be there, okay? Unless I got something critically important on that day. Now, anyway, so I was hanging out with my friend Dave Porter and Rachel at the Matt Denny's. Dave Porter's woman, Natalie, wasn't with him because he was going out to Arcadia to see, coming out here to Arcadia to see a show, a gig by somebody that Natalie doesn't like. So he was by himself. But okay, wait, don't say let's figure out a time, Joe. Let's be realistic about this. You tell me the day and time that you want to do it, and I will, unless I absolutely can't get out of something else, I will confirm that, okay? That's just going to have to be how things work, because, you know, I don't really have that fixed of a schedule. I do have, my schedule is just sort of filling up in general, but I'm at work right now too, Lijo, okay? This is my job. Sort of. Not really, but sort of. I tell you what my job is. Being a cat lover. That's my job. That's my duty. It's my honor. I'm honored. I'm honored to have this cat. I'm constantly being honored by her presence again. It's a wonderfully altruistic job. Yeah. I'm starting to type a fair number of people, which, starts adding up, I guess. I typed an ESTJ and an ISTJ yesterday. Or maybe the ESTJ was the day before. But you almost never get to type an ESTJ. So, of course, why did I get to type this ESTJ? Because I'd already typed his wife, and she said, honey, you've got to, I want you to be type 2, So that's the only reason I end up typing an ESTJ, is if their wife signs them up, right? The ISTJ was surprising, because ISTJs occasionally do come to get typed, but not that often. And, I noted what I've thought before about ISTJs. They seem surly, but they're actually just nervous. So I try to make them as comfortable as I can, If I moved to a tiny Eastern European village, I'd be considered to have immense wealth. Well, but then I'd have to live in a tiny Eastern European village. ESTJ and ESFJ are the two types that are least likely to, of their own accord, come to me to be typed. I think that's accurate. And it's because of NI polar. They already know everything they need to know about themselves and others, which is their experience. They don't need to know anything else, right? Indy is loving summer and chasing all the lizards. Is your dog named Indy or your cat? Well, it's not that they don't care. It's that they just don't believe in NI. And you have to have some sense of identity defining the individual as being a real thing before you're be interested in how identity defines the individual, which is basically cognitive functions, right? But if you're NI polar, you don't think identity ever defines the individual. The concept doesn't even make sense to you. You're NI polar. Your dad once said, I don't know everything, but I know what I know. Yeah. My dad always says to me, well, you know how it is, son. You're an optimist, but I'm not. Which is, see, he sees my going like, but NI resolves this concern of yours as optimism, right? So it's like, my dad bought a black Mini Cooper from this guy who lives very close to us in a very nice home. He's in his 60s, probably, I don't know. And my dad, there was some hoop my dad wanted to jump through. Oh, he was concerned about whether he could, my dad said, well, I want to take it to my mechanic to get it checked out first. And the guy said, well, I'm taking it to the shop tomorrow to get oil change and stuff. I just hadn't quite gotten to that. I can have my mechanic check it out, and you can talk to him about it too if you want. And my dad was, I don't know about that, And I was like, my read of the guy, the FE, NI kind of stuff, made it clear that there was absolutely no worry here that both parties were as honest and upright and normal, sort of upstanding citizens as you could get, and that there was no chance either party was going to try to screw the other party over or pull some bullshit. And so, but that's not good enough reason for my dad, you know. It was not the Mini Cooper that got the well, it might have been the old Mini Cooper, the one he no longer has, that got the toll booth violation. I typed this older ISTJ lady once who was relatively balanced, but I asked her about her craziest night, and that uncovered a lot. She saw an attractive man in another country and went home with him for the night and spent the weekend with him. She thought it was wild. I mean, that's fairly wild, I guess. What's my craziest night? I mean, one pops to mind immediately, which is the night that I got into a drunk driving accident in Tijuana. That was, or actually it was deeper in Mexico than Tijuana. I think it was like, what's that place called? It's like the next party place below Tijuana. You could drive there. Anyway, crashed the car, hit and run. Popped out of the crash car that I crashed into because I had passed out at the wheel. There were two big spiderweb cracks in the windshield where my head and Dave Porter's head hit the windshield, right? And I was like, that woke me up from being passed out drunk at the wheel. And then I popped out of the car and I looked at this station wagon I hit, in which all these Mexicans are pouring out of this station wagon. It had like 10 people in it or something. And I look at the station wagon and say, oh, no damage. And I get back in my car and I drive away with the lights off for a while because I don't want to get caught or whatever. Then I get back on the highway trying to head back to America with my mashed in front end car with the two head marks on the fucking windshield, the two head spiderweb brakes on the windshield. And I go the wrong direction on the highway, and we wake up the next morning parked on a dirt road in this tiny Mexican village, surrounded by chickens pecking at their feed. that I'm glad I don't drink anymore, you know, obviously. But no, there was no sex involved. There weren't even any drugs involved. It was just drunkenness, and we might have gone to some titty bars or something down there. I don't remember. But I doubt it. I always kind of found them distressing in some way. Yeah, well, we stumble out that car in the morning and go, where the fuck are we? I guess at some point I realized I was going south rather than north, and I just pulled over. It was the first place I could get off on. That was when I was 18, though. That was a long time ago. Another kind of crazy night I remember was me and Corey going down to the Magic the Gathering festival that was in Long Beach. And it turning from something I was interested in into me trolling the Magic the Gathering people for being so nerdy, basically. All drunkenly, like, teasing them and shit. Oh, Eric. I think we got kicked out eventually, if I remember correctly. I think I got us kicked out. But whatever. Shit happens. You know? That's not a very crazy story, really. I went to the Magic of the Gathering festival and made a scene heckling somebody and got kicked out. Not a very crazy story. Again, though, drunkenness is involved. If I don't have drunkenness involved, I do have some crazy stories, too, from non-drunken times. The closest I ever came to dying was me falling asleep at the wheel, trying to drive back from one place to Kansas and another place to Kansas after being up on meth for a couple of nights. I woke up on the side thing, like bump 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 bump. I was like in the grass area here, and here's a culvert, a cement culvert right here coming up in front of me. I'm like, ah! I put on the brake and I like stopped like right here. You know, like picking 3 inches from the thing. That was the closest I ever came to dying. Nowadays, I don't have those kind of crazy experiences anymore. I'm safer than that now. I take better care of myself. But, you know, the crazy thing is, despite living like that for a long ass time, various incarnations of that, being a drunk, you know, having problems with illegal versions of amphetamines, and also, you know, not necessarily managing the legal and prescribed ones particularly well, and all those kind of things. I've been living like that for decades, right? Yet I'm in remarkably good health. I don't feel too damaged overall. I think I've consistently avoided crossing. I've consistently avoided going over the edge of cliffs with all of my problems. Your craziest story was figuring out how to get past 3 security checkpoints and get into the Super Bowl my freshman year of college. That's pretty impressive, Lijo. That's more impressive than crazy. I mean, my other crazy nights all involve drugs. So it's like, I certainly have had some crazy nights tripping all night long on, like, you know, there was one particular acid trip I had during college that was notably stronger than even the strongest of the other ones, and it lasted like 16 hours, and I was just like, it was pretty scary, actually. I didn't enjoy it. Not much to remember about it, though, you know. Then there was that horrible night that I stayed up all night smoking crack. I mean, like, basically had like chemical pneumonia in the morning. But again, the thing that makes my stories not particularly crazy is they don't involve sex. They consistently don't involve sex. Yeah. Well, I mean, in the craziest thing, like if Lijo's story were to be its ultimate craziest story, she and her partner, or whoever she was with, her friend, or whatever it was, she and the other person would have dropped acid ahead of time, and then have sex with the football players after the game while they do cocaine off of prostitutes' buttocks. Drinking the whole time as well. That would make it, and then they crash their car on the way home. That would be a maximally crazy story, right? That's like ESFP version of Ligeo's story. That's full blast crazy. Only your ESXPs can really attain full blast crazy. You know. Yeah, zip ties is a way of locking things. Smart move there, Lijo. Here's what I say to your lock. Just melt that shit. That's a good idea. Good thinking. That's one of my SITE heuristics that's in my repertoire is if I don't have a scissors or whatever, I often will use a lighter. It comes to mind quickly to cut through things. A lot of times I'll use it instead of something else I could use to cut some things, you know. I mean, I'm not an ESFP. I don't know really any ESFPs. I just know that they're wild, you know. Like Cameron's girlfriend, Kara, she's an ESFP, and I know her from back in high school. She's definitely wild. But I'm not that wild, so I don't know what really goes down after Eric goes home. Eric had a tendency to pass out early, like drink too much and pass out, and miss the bulk of the party and feel bad the next day for having missed it. That's a classic Eric move. So, I mean, I remember probably the most impressive party scene I've ever been at was this rave Corey took me to. It had 3 floors here that all looked down on the one bottom floor dance floor here, and there were people just going insane on all 3 levels. And I mean, the place was just, people were tearing the roof off of the motherfucker, as they say. It was the most impressive party scene I've ever encountered. And, you know, everybody's got their rave stuff, their little blowy things, and their meow. But the problem was, that particular night, I just wasn't on the right combination of drugs or something. I ended up going home pretty quick. I was like, well, this is very interesting and cool, but I'm not really in the mood for this right now. So, I think it was because my ex-girlfriend was there and made me sad, and I didn't realize it. Hi, Joe. You gotta be careful. Don't get yourself hired for things when you're drugged up. What was in the section of the ENTP that you cut out? Oh, it was basically him bitching about his fiance's ESFJness. Well, it's like, because I've been married to an ESFJ, when I started describing some of the things, he was like, oh, yes, and blah, 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 and, blah, blah, blah. And you know, it's like you don't want to complain that much about your significant other. I get what he was just sort of exploring that range of things that he was complaining about, and so it sounded expansive, but he doesn't really have that much negativity towards her, you know, so I was happy to cut it out. My coffee's done. Let me go get myself a cup of it now. I mean, ESFJs will drive an ENTP crazy is the bottom line. They constantly shift ground. It's super annoying. And it's an antipolar thing. They don't get that. They can't just say, okay, well then this then, without it impacting the other things that we talked about too. You know, it's like, okay, well then this then, okay, but then that means you also agree with, yeah. And they go, what, this then? And you go, you're not listening. We're trying to determine what's determinant here. And nothing is determinant. You know, it's like words dissipate like mist in the air and that's it. They're gone. When it comes to meanings, not when it comes to what they're going to do or something, that's different. But when it comes to, you know, agreeing on statuses and stuff on the map, they get this baffled look, and then they start shifting ground like their names were Ground Shifty McShift Grounds. Because INTPs are countervaluing NI as well. So instead, what they do is they help ESFJs be more TI without caring that they're not NI. Whereas ENTPs push back against the 7th slot NI and go, no, but don't be blind though in that area. And that's not going to work, right? But I'm not going to tell a guy that his relationship is doomed to fail. Even if I think so. Just on the grounds that she's the wrong type, you know. I'm not going to make that kind of proclamation. It just seems outrageous, I guess. I mean, I probably have said it to somebody before, but I try to be a little bit more conscious of people's feelings nowadays, I guess. That's true. The shared absolute value of FE is what makes the relationship work for quite a while. The problem is that with an ENTP, there's also a shared absolute value of NE that's a little, well, okay. I mean, the thing is, you don't really want to have the same value as your third because it's selfish. So it's like, I want to FE, but the ESFJ will put you under her FE umbrella if you're with her, for sure. And then she wants to control the FE under that umbrella. And to the extent that you're going to attain FE things, then okay, I don't understand your last question, Peter NTG. I mean, the best relationship, you got your 2 3s switched as instrumental and absolute values, because Rachel treats TI selfishly, which is to say, if I'm using my TI to judge her, I think, okay, you only consider fairness in a very limited scope here. You're not really thinking about the broader picture when it comes to fairness, in general. And when you don't want to use logic, like when you want to listen to astrology stuff or whatever, you don't, and that's perfectly fine. It doesn't bother me because TI is just instrumental to me. I don't need her to be logical, really, and I don't need things to be fair for me as long as it's me being giving and not someone else being taking. And her FE instrumental is perfect for that. She doesn't care really that much if she's perceived as the one who's accepting my givingness and frames it that way. She cares that she's not being treated unfairly, and she's not. She's being treated very fairly, you know. Oops, sorry, Kitty. Oh, I'm so sorry, darling. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to elbow you in the head. Eric, you've got to be more careful than that. I just want to elbow Kitty. God. You disturbed her slumber for a second. It's not okay. This majestic beast must be respected above all things. Yeah, I don't think third slot is envious of when others use it well. I don't think so. I would suspect that well, okay, put it this way. You're most likely going to feel like a male defending their territory against another male when you encounter another of your own type doing you well. So I'm most likely going to feel threatened when I encounter an ENTP doing things that I do as well or better than I am doing them. That's going to be the most threatening to me. But I think the one that you might feel envious about when you see people doing it well is your fourth slot. Like, I could totally imagine myself walking into somebody's house and going, man, I wish my stuff were as well organized as your stuff is. I could totally picture that happening. You might also feel envious about your eighth. Like, or at least you might feel insecure about your eighth. Because you know you can rely on your eighth, but that other people can't, basically. Rachel feels insecure because her SI is not good enough to consistently feed me. She's always forgetting to feed me and or do stuff that she thinks I might need to have done because I'm an ENTP who really wants an ISFJ or something like that, you know. But the solution to this is very simple, actually, which is some of the time I need to just say, Rachel, can you please get me some food, which I do now sometimes. Historically, because I'm FE third, I have historically just said, well, you know, why should I ask her to get something when I can just get it myself? Well, because it's good to have her feel useful too, you know. So, and it's something she can do for me that's doesn't take much effort and helps her to feel as though, you know, she's contributing more, I guess, or something like that. FE's kind of mad at you. Well, I mean, FE that you note as FE is probably not that great, right? My sister tested very well on TI questions, was slow on genealogy, mediocre but not polar SI, and polar like NE, but is incredibly emotionally volatile and is taking classes specifically about the types of TI questions you use. Thoughts? Sounds like INFP or ISFP. polar like NE, that ISFP. Hi, Sean Ryan Barron. Oh my God, it's Sean Ryan Barron. He's here. He's Sean. He's Ryan. He's Barron. We're all thrilled. It's the SRB in his house. It's the SRB today. He's arrived with his piano in hand, so let's all hear him play. Tinkle, 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 tinkle. This is the sound of playing the piano. Tinkle, 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 tinkle. That's what it sounds like when Sean Ryan Barron plays the piano. It's non-stop tinkles. I don't know, Ewan McKinney. You want real answers? Pay me to typer. Well, I mean, I don't have a specific organization issue. I don't have stuff I don't spend enough time managing my environment. I spend too much time doing stuff in my environment and not enough time managing it. So it's not particularly clean around here. Like, you know, I've got this book that I'm reading for the student on the desk right here. My keys. I got this back scratcher I need to put back inside because Rachel wanted me to scratch her back last night, and I said, well, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you this back scratcher. I think it's a better way to get your back scratched because I don't have any fingernails, you know. Okay. Winston's mom, that's a pretty offensive way to say that he's a homosexual. Don't forget the pipe organ. He plays it so beautifully. Okay, well, listen. I don't appreciate this kind of sexual innuendos around here, Winston's mom. It's not okay. Oh, wait, you mean he actually plays the pipe organ? The actual pipe organ. Oh, not the pipe organ. Gotcha. My bad. I was confused for a second. I'm easily confused like that. If I were a homosexual, I'd say, let's just say I play the pipe organ. Know what I mean? That would be a good way of a good euphemism for that. What's wrong? Oh, there we go. Have you ever heard the Sloppy Seconds song? It says, it's called I Don't Want to Be a Homosexual. And one of the lyrics of it is, I want to fuck the girls because I don't want to be homosexual. But the thing about the song is, its basic premise is that I think the gist of the message is if he doesn't start having sex with girls pretty soon, he's going to become a homosexual. So I suspect that that's not how people actually become homosexuals. I think the basic underlying principle of the song is wrong. But then the band's called Sloppy Seconds, so what do you expect? It's also got a song called Come Back Tracy. Come back Tracy, come. I met her in the video store. It was the summer of '84. She had a body that wouldn't quit, but she knew what to do with it. Come back, come back, come back Tracy, come back Tracy, come back, come back, come back Tracy, Tracy, come back to me. It's about Tracy Lords because there was this occasion when Tracy Lords I guess started doing pornography when she was like either 14 or 15 with a fake ID, and then when she turned 18 she was like, oh, I was underage and all that shit, and then all that stuff got taken away from the video stores and stuff, right? and I think she like sued him or something. But regardless, then she made like 1 or 2 more porns of her own, and those were the only Tracy Lords porns she could find then. And then she stopped doing porn. So, anyway, that's what that song's about. Hey, those are my favorite videos. That's Sloppy Seconds is the band. They're called Sloppy Seconds. They do this. They had this album that is basically SE squeamishness would be basically if the camera's moving around too much, I'm moving it too fast, something like that would be SE squeamishness, because it's basically actually you're being asked to sense something that's not very sensible, right? You know, because you know, a very moving around camera causes your eyes to have to constantly recenter and stuff like that. That would be SE squeamish. But SI squeamish is like seeing somebody else hurt themselves and going, ooh. Or like, there was this really gross part of this movie I was watching the other night with Rachel called Fear Street, Part 2, 1978. And the girls had gone into this underground cavern thing, and then they realized as they walked, they finally got to this one spot where it smelled really bad, and they realized they were standing where the outhouse dropped onto, and that made me want to puke. I was just like, bleh, bleh, bleh. I gag easily. I have a weak stomach, just like the astrology report of Winston's mom says. So the thing is, extroverted sensing is a way of paying attention to stuff outside of you. So naturally, there's not going to be a lot of there's not the same sort of equivalency factor. Since SI is about knowing what something feels like to you, obviously there's going to be this sympathetic, ooh, that looks like it hurt, because you're going to see that person experience their SI, and you're going to kind of remember what it would feel, what something equivalent has felt like to you, and email. If you're talking about the song Satchel of Helpful Goods, Boba Fett, thank you. I appreciate it. Right, well, it was interesting. My daughter said the other day that when she's feeling stressed out, one thing that helps is for her to go run a bunch of errands, to drive from place to place to place to place, and complete tasks. And I said, like, well, I mean, to me, that's exhausting, because in general, driving is tiring for me. The more stopping and going and paying attention I have to do when driving, the more tiring it is. Well, because existentiality is a status afforded by people to objects based on instantiation, which is to say, the observation of an instance of something. So, in other words, something may or may not, quote unquote, exist without observation, but it can never have that status, right? If without an observer, there's nobody to afford it that status. So it's meaningless to say it exists. To exist means to be afforded the status of existentiality by observing an instance of something. You know, I'm quite confident that COVID is not fake. It's just okay. I agree that existentiality is fake. And I agree that her needs are just a myth. But I can't agree that the female orgasm doesn't occur. It does. It just doesn't matter. Okay? That's the thing to take away from this. There's no... What do you mean, her needs? Right? That's the thing to take away from this. Those two words don't go together. I'm just kidding, ladies. I'm just fooling. I'm just playing, girls. It's alright. Hey, girl. Sup? Okay, she does have some needs. She needs to do the dishes. The funny thing is, I actually do all the dishes around here pretty much. Actually, we kind of split the dishes. We don't have very many dishes to do. But she does the laundry. I take the trash out. I took the trash out this morning. ESTP Eric doesn't feel right. I mean, I do much more domestic stuff than she does in general, I would suggest. Well, not much more. I do more than general, probably. I'm more responsible for feeding us. You know, if I don't feel like making something, usually we go out. We got a pizza. We did a pick it up at the store pizza. I've ceased ordering pizzas for delivery because it's like $10 more if you get it delivered when you factor everything in than if you don't get it delivered, and the store is fucking right down the street from me. So I'm not going to get it delivered anymore. I just go there and I order it online. I pay for it online ahead of time, and I just go there and I say, give me my pizza, and they hand it to me, and I go. It's very easy. That's a good question, Reedley. I'd say that, I mean, I don't remember the show that well, but I'm thinking quiet INTP. I mean, he's kind of a cross between the two. That's the problem with characters, of course, is it's like Rachel and I were typing the characters in Fear Street Part 1, 1994, and which is better than Fear Street Part 2 for sure. And it's like, okay, you've got your two main characters, one of whom in that one is ISFP probably, the other of whom is INTP probably, and I would also say that the cheerleader girl is ENTJ / ESTP. You know, it's like she's an ENTJ with a kind of ESTP-ish fuck it, let's just do it and get it done kind of additional skill. And that's just because she's not a perfectly written character, so to speak, or whatever. But, you know, it's just life. Then the other character in that one was the fun-loving dude who seemed like an ESFJ. ENFJ, I mean, probably. I don't have enough hair to do a mohawk. Best video? What's best video? You know what video still gets The Thing by Lijo? Oh, I've never seen it. This is the best video right here. Her name's Capio. Hisoka. I don't remember who Hisoka is. Oh, beauty. Oh, your beauty is closely touching. That facial expression conveys emotions. I'll watch it. It's got a glowing recommendation from Flow State. I'm not unwilling to check it out. That's my emotion face, Flow State. Sometimes people have to feel emotions. What's a Heyoka? I'm not sure. I don't know all the otaku terms, really. Study the type grid? Yeah, well, no thanks. I'm emoting too soon? What is the proper time to emote? When would be not too soon? Do I have to wait years before I can emote properly? Or is it sooner than that? I don't want to wait for my life to be over before. Well, my cat doesn't emote. I'm the cat's bitch. I mean, that's the thing. There's just I've completely accepted that reality. I'm the bitch in this relationship. And I'm okay with that. I kinda like it. I'm tired of being the dominant one, you know. She's the dominant one in the relationship. A sacred clown. Oh, that. Sacred clown. I think clowns are sacrilegious. They're sacrilegious according to my religion. Clownsareevil.com. That's the name of my new religion. Clowns or sacrilegious.com, maybe. The very existence of a clown is anathema to God. Everybody must be serious all the time. The basic tenet of my new religion is always, always be serious. As serious as you can be. Is it like Set? Or Seth? No, it's not like either of those. It's like Loki, the Fool, and the Tarot. It's weird how the Japanese have kind of beat all of the natural inclinations towards controlling your own time out of their children, so that by the time they're adults, they just sort of understand that first and foremost they are cogs in a larger system. if you look at the show My Hero Academia, the main good guy power is one for all. The main bad guy power is all for one. There's a deeply embedded communitarianism in Japan that infests everything, but it's not forced. It's just perpetuated itself. Their culture is very good at self-perpetuation. The way that it's got its sort of expectation drilling things going on, you know? Wendigo is the shadow side of Heyoka. One is good, the other is not. Heyoka good, Wendigo bad. Uh-oh, your Heyoka's turning into a Wendigo. Right. The thing is, prior to World War II, they'd never lost a war, basically. And unlike every place else in the world, they controlled Western access to the country very tightly. So it never came to be that Westerners were trouncing all over Japan, spreading ideas or whatever, until after World War II, in which the Americans were there just long enough, really, to set the Japanese up to rule themselves properly. And while that did make some significant changes to the culture, it was not the same experience as being conquered by the Japanese would have been, right? Like, being conquered by the Americans was, we were very gentle conquerors after we were done conquering. We weren't really interested in pillaging or plundering or even being the bosses of that country. We were interested in creating an ally, which we did, you know. And it's one of the more impressive things that's ever happened in history, frankly. The Japanese occupation, the transformation of Japan from an entirely militaristic culture to one that's basically pacifist, is astonishing. One of the most impressive feats in history. History's weak. Well, I mean, it is true that the old me couldn't beat the new me. And much. Like, my growth over time has rendered plenty of my previous paradigms deprecated, you know? History is created. It's not it's not modified, okay? It's created. Now, there are events that occur that are interpreted through multiple lenses. Sometimes facts are in dispute, sometimes they're not. But even if they're not in dispute, the selections of which facts get stories told about them is more important than really the stories being told. And so it's obviously the case that I humped your mom's face last night with my penis. And she was like, oh! That was your mom last night and her face. I don't know if it's your mom's got a small face or I've got a big scrotum, but I can cover your mom's entire face with my scrotum. I found that if you make your coffee tasty enough, it's better to drink it with a spoon. Well, the thing is, I plan to refill this cup in not a very long time. I know I'm going to have to there, at that point, put more creamer in, and I want to remember to put the creamer in before the coffee, dummy. So, I usually don't remember. Because here's the thing. If you have... She has a really small face, yeah. Tiny face syndrome. Like this big. The thing is, usually, because here's the deal. Most cups of coffee I make, or at least half of them, I'm reheating coffee after the coffee pot has been on for 4 hours and turned itself off. Okay? After it stays on keeping the coffee hot for 4 hours, it turns itself off. So, then after that, if I want coffee and I still have coffee in the pot, instead of making a new pot of coffee, I'll just pour the cold coffee into a cup. Now, if I do that, I have to heat it before I put in the creamer, obviously. Because here's the deal. You can't melt coffee creamer in cold coffee. Powdered coffee creamer. If you try, you end up with lumps of coffee creamer grossness. So, you don't want to do that. So, what you do then is you have to heat up the coffee first and then put the coffee creamer in. However, if the coffee's already hot, it makes more sense to put the coffee creamer in first and then pour the coffee. Listen, I'm always careful to never cover the entire face with the scrotum for longer than 45 seconds at a time. Have you ever been camping in the desert and gotten hammered and performed Native American rituals by the fire? I have been camping in the desert and gotten hammered plenty of times. Probably I have performed some Native American rituals by the fire. I don't really recall because I was hammered at the time. But, yes, that's true. Elijah, there's nothing saying she can't use a snorkel. Nothing at all saying she can't use a snorkel. It's a good point. When you're swimming in a sea of scrotum, best you bring a snorkel. You know the old the old saying. That's the old saying. Oh, Taylor. You so silly. You're so physically minded with your sexual intercourses and your sensual pokings. I brew it. I brew it with my own 2 hands, with the Mr. Coffee pot maker thing. Let me tell you, Peter Wellington, I can do you better than that, though. I am and have been in the past a Native American. I had incredibly good vision when I was a Native American. You know how we can track animals and stuff. I could spot a buffalo that was 300 miles away. Unfortunately, my tribe thought that probably that meant that I'd be good at the rain dance. So one year they made it my duty to do the rain dance, ring the reins, and didn't rain once the entire year. Boy, were my legs tired. What do you think? That's a joke I had prepared from before. It's not created on the fly there. Have you ever been a peanut butter and banana sandwich? Not as much, not as far as I can recall. I don't know. I see your message here that says, if her face is tiny enough to be covered by the average male member, then it is quite likely that she wouldn't be able to fit the snorkel in her mouth. Unless her mouth takes up most of the face. Listen, I told you, my scrotum is like a beach blanket. It's like one of those punch ball balloons, kind of. Have you ever seen a fjord close up? Sadly, no, I haven't. I have not spent time at the fjords. I know a lot about Norway. I know about how legumes make up most of the protein in their diet, for example. I know that they spend most of their lives in, at, or talking about the fjords. There's nothing offensive about me covering your mother's face with my scrotum. It's a beautiful, loving, sensual, degrading act. I was like watching the other night when I was watching some show where it's like maybe somebody made themselves a girlfriend or something. Well, I don't remember the context, but the joke was like, you know, what's her name? And the guy's like, well, I'd call her Big Tits, except you'd probably find that degrading. I remember he was holding up a sex doll, a blow-up sex doll, and this, like, his friend who was a girl was like, great, what are you gonna name her, you know? He was like, well, I call her Big Tits, but I find that degrading. I call Rachel Big Tits, though. That's what I found. Why I found it particularly funny. Come here, Big Tits. Only when I'm in a sexual intercourse mood, and that's when the hierarchical dynamics of the relationship start to come into play. Okay, good job, Flow State. Thanks for letting us know. When you're done, keep us informed. Was it enough to fill a thimble or a pint glass? You know, we want to know how much semen comes out of you when you are done. Until someone makes a model that can actually comprehend what language means, there won't be a really decently working filter. Oh yeah, I will. I'll try to remember. I'll be there if I don't forget. You know, I won't live stream then myself for sure. I did that some other time where I would live stream when Jax was live streaming, and I felt like, oh, it's kind of I kind of feel bad about that. I don't want to do that, you know. 100K watching right now. That'd be great. 10K watching right now would be fine. Instead, I have, I think, 10 people. So that's not so great. But that's fine. But each of those 10 people is very great. Don't get me wrong. I've got the 10 best people. But unfortunately, that's not generally considered important in YouTube metrics, how good the people you have are. Just the quantity. It's like, why does YouTube only care about the quantity of viewers and not the quality of viewers? Oh yeah, it's a sin to spill your seed on the ground. That's why you should always keep a dish rag near you. Or a woman's face, one of the two. Look, you just gotta take that shit literally. Don't spill it on the ground. That's easy enough to avoid. There's lots of places you can squirt your load besides the ground. Spill it on something else. Anyway, you're not really spilling. Who's spilled their man seed before? You don't spill it. You shoot it out. Or, I don't know, squirt it or something. You ejaculate it. Right, like you're keeping it in a cup. You spill it. I've never spilled my semen before. I think my jokes have gotten dirtier the older I've gotten, probably. Ooze can also be adequate for some people. Well, yeah, ooze, I guess. Well, I mean, really? I guess if you don't really have any pop to your pump, then it doesn't shoot very far, maybe, but sometimes it shoots further than other times. Yeah, sometimes it shoots far away. You know what I'm talking about? I've never seen that video, don't want to see it, but okay, well, no, I don't know. Ryan, let me just put it that way. No, I don't know. The idea of me having sex 3 times in succession is insane. I have sexual intercourse 1 time and 1 day, and then every once in a while it would go like a morning and then later that night or something, but like in the morning and then right away again or something. No, never. Why would I? What's the point? You're just showing off. Who wants to have that much sex? Once you had sex for a while and you're done, then now sometimes I might break sex up into 2 parts or maybe even 3 parts, like choose to stop before I'm done and therefore want to have sex again in just an hour or something. That's fine, that makes sense, but I mean, how many loads do you got in you, for Christ's sakes? How many do you want to shoot? It's like, do you want to spend all day long having sex? I don't. Talk about a waste of time. It's like when I gotta rub one out. I don't want to spend fucking 15 minutes at it or something. I just, okay, let's go. When I'm just rubbing one out, it takes like fucking 20 seconds or something. It's weird how your body treats that so differently than actual sex. Actual sex, it's not like that at all, but when I'm rubbing one out, it's just like, I don't want to waste time on it. I just want to get the goo out of me. Elijah, do you have small tubes? Do you have small fallopian tubes? All the women in the world, I want to ask you one question. How are your fallopian tubes doing today? Do you keep an ongoing log of their well-being? Fallopian news. It's all the news you need to know about fallopian tubes. Hi, welcome to Fallopian News. I'm Marilyn, and today we'll be talking about fallopian tubes again. Yes, if you're a woman like me, you have wonderful tubes called fallopian tubes. What do they do? Why are they there? Why are they tubes? What do they fallope? These are questions we can all answer today here on Fallopian News. That would get billions of views. Women love hearing news about fallopian tubes. You got an echo of your ovaries? What's an echo of your ovaries? I don't know what that is. Your uterus goes backwards instead of forwards, apparently. It's tilted. Well, let me tell you both, my uterus is just fine. I think it's great that women have to go to, like, vagina doctors. Alright, sweetheart, get in these stirrups. Let me take a look. Yep, that's your vag, alright. An echography, huh? Oh. I once was married to a lady who was pregnant with my child. Everything went fine. There really wasn't any complications or anything. And baby popped right out at the end. Just, hey, we're at the hospital. Oh my God, you're so dilated. Take you to the room. Ah, here she comes. It's just like that. Just bap, bap, bap. So, that's where Delilah came from. I made her with my penis. By humping my first wife. And, I guess my sperms probably were more vigorous back then, you know. I suspect my sperms now aren't particularly interested in getting to the egg. They're just like, whatever, we'll just hang around here near the fallopian tubes. We're old, we're tired, we're high. Our chromosomes are God knows what. And, you know, we're just not gonna bother. I'm pretty confident my sperms are like, you know. Nevertheless, I still we still make efforts to prevent pregnancy, me and Rachel. Yeah, basically missing a tail at this point. All the things they say damage your chromosomes and make your sperms worse, it's like I do them all and have done them all for decades. So probably, except for wearing bun huggers. I don't wear bun huggers. I've never liked bun huggers. I've always worn boxers. Bun huggers supposedly make you infertile because they don't let your nuts adjust adequately to temperature differences. Because your nuts are there, and your scrotum is there to. Your scrotum specifically is there to move your balls further away from your body when it's too hot, and closer to your body when it's too cold, to keep the sperms at the right temperature so that they can do their thing. But if you're wearing bun huggers, then you're limiting your capacity of your scrotum to move your balls away from your body. Also, they're uncomfortable and make you feel all bunchy. But the worst thing I've ever tried to wear before is like either some woman has on multiple occasions, a few different occasions, purchased me a pair of skinny jeans. Candace, Kimberly, I don't know. But, oh my God. They are not wearable by any actual man, as far as I can tell. It's like, why would you want to wear those things? It's, you have to spend so much time, you know, adjusting where your junk hangs, and then readjusting it after it gets uncomfortable there for a second. Terrible idea, skinny jeans. Why would guys wear skinny jeans? Why don't you just wear, like, you kick in the balls pants? You know, it's like, so dumb. Just as, if anybody should ride side saddle, shouldn't it be dudes? Doesn't that make more sense than women riding side saddle? Women are well designed for regular saddle. Men are much more well designed for side saddle. Because regular saddle could be potentially a ball crusher, you know. Skinny jeans are not my lover. It's just the one who I think I am the one. But the kid is not my son. Woo-hoo. Side saddle was because women used to wear dresses, and you can't have that dress flapping up. But think about it, Lijo. What's an easier solution than side saddle? Put on some pants, right? It's a lot easier solution than side saddle. It appears to be shaking up to be a +10 night. If I don't start muted, it's a win. Well, with all the promotion Winston's mom was doing and all this conversation about it, I will make a concerted effort to attend to the live chat with my witty witticisms and playful banter, which will liven up things beyond all compare. And you'll say, wow, what an exciting party we had. Well, with Eric's quips and all. Just remember, please, that Billie Jean is not my lover. Okay? She's just a girl who I think I am the one, but the kid is not my son. Well, you should watch you should watch part 2. If you watched part 2, I'll link to it. It's fantastic. It's a fantastic and hella underviewed video. Okay, like this is if you want to talk about what makes me feel like demoralized sometimes, it's that when I make a video like this one I made on geodes called Circular Saw versus Geode versus Pro Saw versus Nodule. This is a really good video, but it has under 100 views and very few comments, and Geode's lined up over here. And I found this one which had a really natural theme and a decent like rate, but only 85 views. I put a lot of time and energy into making this video, but it, I guess you'd say, the payoff per minute, or whatever, of time I put in, makes it not worth it, you know? Like, I really like that video. I'm proud of it. I feel like I did a good job with it, but nobody's really interested to think of it. I mean, I changed the title a couple of times already. My initial title was YT's best geode video. That was my initial title. It doesn't seem to matter that much what the title is, or the thumb in this instance, and with these kind of videos. I mean, it could be playing the long game, but it's hard to see. What I decided to do is name it something that appeals to the long game, which is Geode versus Circular Saw versus, you know, Pro Saw and stuff. It's something that somebody who's interested in geodes might actually want to watch, based on the title. I included a picture of me in the thumb because I had a different thumb made originally and it didn't seem to be working, so I don't know. I try my best. People always have advice, but what are you gonna do? Life's shit, then you die. Life equals suffer plus suffer plus suffer plus die. Why, that's a positive worldview. Have I tried not trying? Oh, I've tried that plenty. I'm an expert at that, KE. Skinny jeans is not my lover. No space to stretch, can't walk or have any fun. And the zipper hurts when you run. Ooh. That's pretty good, Lijo. Some good extroverted intuition there. You're really extroverting your NI there to expand upon it. Make lyrics that fit the actual syllabic needs of the song and everything. Pretty good. It shows you how that fifth slot can be kind of robust. Kind of robusto, like a coffee that's strong. One needs to know when to let the universe do its job. I've been trying to figure out, did anybody actually have a copy of the universe's job description anywhere? Because there seems to be a lot of dispute about what the universe's job is. Living with an ENFP, it's like that every day, but with every item in the house. I see. Yeah, it's kind of like that with an ENTP as well. Yeah, that's why I have the song International Delight. That's a song I made up because in the morning I used to get the International Delight coffee creamer. And I was standing at the fridge and I was thinking, International Delight sounds like some kind of superhero. And then I came up with the song, I come from a country far across the sea where all of the people are alright. That's why all the people are always calling me the International Delight. I may not have a satchel, but then again I might, and I'm unfailingly polite. That's why all the people, when they have me in their sight, say there's the International Delight. With his friend's pucker tart, lemon squeeze, and his friend to the beaver bee, and Muriel, and to the do it all for you. I also had a song about when it's cold in the car, and you get in the car. The song is, somebody turn on the heater, 'cause I'm feeling oh so cold. That's a oldie but goodie. Bill Cosby's out of prison. Ladies, you hear that? Ladies, now's your chance. Now's your chance. Yeah, making up little songs about objects is definitely anything. It comes with a limited lifespan, though, depending on how you define it. So, who's to say if humans are not just here to accomplish their predetermined job of ending it all? This is my torch. Would you like me to sing a song about it? Let's see. O torch of mine, come light these fires. This bong on hand needs this thine fire. O torch of mine, bring me up higher. Oh, noble torch, torch of great things. That's absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. If you want to know something that's better than good, better than medium, better than bad, I'm talking about absolutely fantastic. That's as good as you can get. If you love things that are absolutely fantastic, you're going to really enjoy this television program right now that we're about to have. No, he's not planning a comeback stand-up tour. No, he is not. Surely no. That's got to be bullshit. He's old, he's blind, there's no way. That is an urban myth. You're urban mything me with your urbanity here. You ain't fooling me, Jocko Pastorius. It cannot possibly be the case. The world's a crazy place, though, and don't get me wrong, I've come to realize that it will frequently shock me with its appallingly bad decision making. But, I don't think he's physically able to. You know, he's 152 years old, for one thing. He's blind. And he no longer eats Jell-O pudding pops. He's forsaken them entirely in his old age. How could he possibly be funny without Jell-O pudding pops? He couldn't. And then they eat it but the Jell-O and the bigger but the mama did the barbecue. Okay, Bill Cosby. That's enough. Who's Jocko Willink? I have no idea who that is. Jocko Willink? Willink? I don't know who that is. It's a mystery. Let's see who that is. Okay, so I want to play this song. Let me let the cat out. That wants to go outside. Here you go, sweetie. Don't do that. I want to play this song. I like it a lot. And it's good. I'll put it up over here too. Hi, Trouble. God damn it. I gotta feed Trouble. Is that why you wanted me to open the door? Because Trouble was outside? Look at that. Too much to see. Right there. Come on, Trouble. There. Oh, that silly, silly cat. What a silly, silly cat indeed. do a couple little adjustments here, such as meow and meow. That crop thing in OBS is so useful, it's insane. Then I need to, I guess, maybe make this a little smaller. Yeah, that's better. There we go. Okay. It's a very... This is too hot. By a lot. That should be better. Like my sweater. It's a very cloudy day. That's too cold. It's a very cloudy day in Los Angeles. And today we run out of time. Struggles past, troubles still to come. The day is nearly done. Can someone buy us some more time? Cloudy day in Los Angeles. Cloudy day in LA. I'm not no sort of evangelist, but I've got something to say. Whether I'm supposed to be here or just be soon forgotten noise, sort of based on what I see here, but also on the means employed. Cloudy day in Los Angeles. Cloudy day in LA. I ain't no sort of evangelist, but I've got something to say. Life can strangely be forgiving for those who stay awake all night. Mostly voices say to give in. They'll try to sap the will to fight. Don't let them sap the will to fight. It's a very cloudy day in Los Angeles. And today we run out of time. Struggles past, troubles still to come. They're nearly done. Seems we bought us some more time. Seems we bought us some more time. I think that was good. I think I played that well. I like that song a lot. It's kind of slow developing, I guess. I mean, it's a slow song. I'm not necessarily by nature a huge fan of slow songs, but I really like it. Oh, well, he's pucker tart, lemon squeeze, the friendliest guy that you will see. Yes, he wants to be your friend, but he comes from around the bend, so it will be oh while till he sees you again. He's Pucker Tart Lemon Squeeze, he's a friend to you and me. He's international delight's favorite go-to right-hand guy. He's international like him, but he is also busy like his friend, the beaver bee. Busiest creature, busy as a bee, and busy as a beaver, and so much busier than Pucker Tart Lemon Squeeze. Well, he's Pucker Tart Lemon Squeeze, shabba-doo-ba-shabba-ba-doo-da. Pucker Tart Lemon Squeeze, shabba-doo-ba-day. Yes, he's Pucker Tart Lemon Squeeze, shabba-doo-ba-da-ba-ba-doo-da. Pucker Tart Lemon Squeeze, shabba-doo-ba-day. And if you go to visit him for starts, remember to bring something sour or tart. He's not a fan of sugary treats because he's Pucker Tart, not Pucker Sweet. He's Pucker Tart Lemon Squeeze, the friendliest guy that you will see. Yes, he wants to be your friend, but he comes from around the bend, so it will be a while till he sees you again. He's Pucker Tart Lemon Squeeze, he's a friend to you and me. He's international delight, favorite go-to right-hand guy. He's international like him, and he is also busy like his friend, the beaver bee, a busiest creature, busy as a bee and busy as a beaver, and so much busier than Pucker Tart Lemon Squeeze. Well, he's Pucker Tart Lemon Squeeze, shabba-doo-ba-da-ba-ba-doo-da. Pucker Tart Lemon Squeeze, shabba-doo-ba-day. Yes, he's Pucker Tart Lemon Squeeze, shabba-doo-ba-ba-ba-ba-doo-da. Pucker Tart Lemon Squeeze, shabba-doo-ba-day. And if you go to visit him for starts, remember to bring something sour or tart. He's not a fan of sugary treats because he's Pucker Tart and not Pucker Sweet. He's Pucker Tart Lemon Squeeze. That was pretty good. Play this one. Just brooding here won't do any good, but brooding's more and more my style. I seek the cheery ways of standing where we stood, 'cause I've been stuck here a while. That's despite a natural selfishness that makes it easy to have fun. But flutters in the gut become a fist as all my visions come undone. I tried to stream, distract, and dream the afternoon away, but happy new realities bear down on every day, and for a bit I am out of it, for reasons still unsaid, but still I need get out of me what's inside my head. It seems like everybody's so sensitive and ready to just get mad. I seek the civil ways of living like a kid, 'cause who wants to be the dad? Boom, 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 boom. Have we lost our sense of scope and scale? Our capacity to laugh? The sense to know how not to wail, and how to tip the golden calf. I tried to stream, distract, and dream the afternoon away, but happy new realities bear down on every day, and for a bit I am out of it, for reasons still unsaid, but still I need get out of me what's inside my head. And so I'm sad, so sad for me, sad for her unhappily, and what you call sorrow I call home. Blues that sink clear down to the bone, till I'm sad. So sad for me, sad for her, unhappily, what you call sorrow, I call home. Blues that sink clear down to the bone, all the way down to the bone. Indeed. Special times, important friends. These are the moments of our lives. Let's enjoy them together with a pleasure that will never be matched. When I was younger, it seemed that everything gleamed. I don't know what happened to me, but I've lost that sense of urgency, and I don't think that I'll ever see it again. If you follow my lead, you'll discover I'm loster than you, and you'll want to know the way to get back out to wherever it was you thought you knew. And tomorrow will be just like today. I'll be lost then too. It's a matter of mood as much as a matter of will. And the things I do and the direction I point to still seem a part of me, though departedly. And I wonder if I'll ever see them again. Bum-ba-da-dee, da-dee-da-dee-doo, bum-ba-dee-da-da-da-doo. Bum-ba-dee-da-da-da-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Okay, wonderful times, wonderful people. Together, forever and ever, we are the Wonder Corporation. Bringing wonderful things to wonderful people in wonderful ways for wonderful times. The Wonderful Corporation. Let's see here. 30,000 days, too many expectations, not even worth a damn. 30,000 nights to sleep off the intoxication, otherwise you won't escape the plan. I've wasted half my days trying on others' ways. Who can tell me my priorities? Is there anybody knows the key? 'Cause I'm tired of doing it wrong. Want direction and have all along. Wait until I know, or is that just hesitation? Clarity's no good once your chance is gone. What I need to show is it so below my station? I'm tired of doing it wrong. I've wasted half my days trying on others' ways. Who can tell me my priorities? Is there anybody knows the key? 'Cause I think I'm doing this wrong. I think I'm doing it wrong. I think I'm doing it wrong. Doing it wrong. I'm doing it wrong, is what I say in that song. Is it true? Sing along and find out with me. Wah, 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 wah. Wah, 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 wah. Wah, 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 wah. Sammy has a story that need be told. This is a song for an open road, and such a thing must always do its job. She married up Jeb, turned 19, 4 years and 3 kids weaned. Weary now and questioning the path. Agency outpaces discretion, locking in their courses. Way too young. The urgency conferred is really just oppression, making sure those underneath them always run. Doug at 20 thought bourbon fun, and likewise Doug at 21, and so forth, well up into middle age. What once had seemed to set him free became his whole identity. Now Doug's about another drunken rage. Agency outpaces discretion, locking in our courses. Way too young. The urgency conferred is really just oppression. Offer you incentives, but they haven't got a thing that's fun. Everybody's panicked about the kids. Lock 'em up with extra dexedrine. Mathematics to produce success, or impose more unjust duress. Agency outpaces discretion, locking in our courses. Way too young. The urgency conferred is really just oppression, making sure those underneath them always run. Without consent, it's really just oppression, by parasites surviving on their wages earned by lying, while they feed their fear of dying. Feed upon the futures of the young. I'm playing my guitar including this finger more than I would think I would at this point, with it having hit it with a rock, but it seems to be okay, you know? It's not so bad. It's not so bad, not so bad, not so bad. If Jesus was people but absent of sin, he must then have struggled with regular men and women, of course, when they too were present. Disciples all warily eye in the lesson. If people were Jesus, they'd know as they think, and everyone's work would be true. And feelings once spoken would sit where they sink, and we'd all know just what to do. But people aren't Jesus once they're betrayed. The easy believing forever is lost. Baby naivete is not to be saved, but the wise pay a terrible cost. Does virtue require a rational take, or is virtue that's reasoned invariably fake? Does musing itself just distract from the flow, or is care better served by deliberate and slow? People aren't Jesus once they're betrayed. The easy believing forever is lost. Maybe naivete is not to be saved, but the wise pay a terrible cost. The one you thought you knew acts like you never have met. The life you made for two has faded into regret. There's no one unshaken, we all have been shook, but being forsaken don't mean you're forsook. And when in the past we've been hung out to dry, we'll find them at last if we're willing to try. But people aren't Jesus once they're betrayed. The easy believing forever is lost. Maybe naivete is not to be saved, but the wise pay a terrible cost. Maybe naivete is not to be saved, but the wise pay a terrible cost. Yeah. People willing to try. People aren't Jesus. People aren't Jesus once they're betrayed. The easy believing forever is lost. Maybe naivete is not to be saved, but the wise pay a terrible cost. It's hard to sing in that register. It's a low register. A low, low register. Too much noise in the data stream, loud enough to disrupt everybody's dreams. Frustrations mean mistakes are made, until it seems everybody's just throwing shade. I won't be another casualty of other people's well-intentioned rules. I used to think that some tomorrow there'd be time for yesterday. It's not the sort of thing that one can borrow. No one willing to lend a day. Uncertainty is implicit, just like an unexpected visit from a bunch of men all dressed in blue suits. I won't be another casualty of other people's well-intentioned rules. I used to think that some tomorrow there'd be time for yesterday. It's not the sort of thing that one can borrow. No one willing to lend a day. Your uncertainty's implicit, just like an unexpected visit from a bunch of men all dressed in blue suits. I need to work on that song some. Figure out exactly how to play it. Gerald has a thought. Gerald has a lot. Gerald has a plot to get to Marjorie's tater tots. He's got a good idea for a name-changing business. Thinking now about what to call Christmas when they hire his firm to change that name. Gerald always thought there'd be chance enough to return to the work left up. He'd get back to it eventually, but his visions piled up and his plans would interrupt all the work that started off so hopefully. Now his mind is back on his business, thinking of changing factless to listless, so how all the people will shout his name. And Gerald knows he understands ever more clearly now. He won't provide explanation, provide in the why, the how. He'll see you and know you from inside your heart. Exciting, delighting, Gerald plays his part. But Gerald still knew there's too much to do, and he had dropped time in the underview. Too much to rebut, so where now and what? Too much time spent nitpicking the skew. With you, Gerald has a thought. Gerald has a lot. Gerald has a plot to get to Marjorie's tasty spots. He's got a good idea for a name-changing business, thinking now that it'll call Christmas when they hire his firm to change that name. Gerald has a thought. That was pretty good. Could have been a little cleaner, but pretty good. Every life lived reaches the time when the road splits in two. There are times, dark times, times of despair, times when it's hard to feel good. That's when I look for my sack full of solvency and that satchel of helpful goods. Satchel of helpful goods. Satchel of helpful goods. Satchel of helpful goods. Every life lived reaches an end when the road disappears. When I'm there, will there be anybody else around? Or will I travel all alone? That's when I look for my sack full of solvency and a satchel filled up with home. Yeah, that satchel, now nothing but bones. Satchel of helpful goods. 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 That was pretty okay. As pretty okay things go. Hey, that was pretty okay. That's what I aspire to. Oh, he came here with her. And what's the big problem that you can't endure? You seem so sure it's not appropriate claiming to blame things on Scott. Despite getting caught, he's got you reframing for him, straining for him, going to the gym to make yourself good enough again. Yeah, you guys both have lots invested. problem that you can't endure. You seem so sure it's not appropriate claiming to blame things on Scott. Despite getting caught, he's got you reframing for him, straining for him, going to the gym to make yourself good enough again. Be done with him. That was good. That felt like tasting a unicorn, as they say in Skittles commercials. Yeah, you really tasted it there. You tasted the unicorn. Okay, thanks, Mom. I appreciate your positive regard and everything, but can you please, you're embarrassing me. I think I'll play this. You're living on a time frame I will never know, with your alienation and humanity's soul. Imagine you a future after the collapse, returning to the urgency of isolated past, picturing community free of metaphysics while you're hunting buffalo and you're picking red delicious. Knowledge of the seasons, wisdoms of old, fire blazing in the night to keep away the cold. Austerity is kept at bay by what you think is in the way of life as children of the land, with an agave weatherman. Imagining a history that never could have been. You lecture at the college, advancement is a sin. Lamenting disconnection in every corporate act, asserting all your feelings and ignoring all the facts. Hostility is kept at bay. Hostility is kept at bay. What you think is in the way, by what you think is in the way of life as children of the land, with an agave weatherman. You find maternity just so banal. Wish you had been born any time but now. Your experience won't run afoul of exceptions you might allow. While you visualize nobility sipping on some port, or tribes of peaceful savages in beautiful comport, but few of history's people ever thusly did cavort, 'cause life was solitary, nasty, brutish, poor, and short. Hostility is kept at bay. Hostility is kept at bay. What you think is in the way. What you think is in the way. Life of children of the land, with an agave weatherman. With an agave weatherman. That was pretty good. I played that pretty well. I played that like I meant it. Like I really knew what I was doing that time for once. Wow, that guy almost sounds like he knows what he's doing. Yeah, almost. I'm working on it. I'm getting there. One of these days I'm gonna sound competent. St. Hannah's from the east are blowing, driving down this mountain fire. So Grant and Lana had best be going. They cut it down to the wire, and everywhere apocalypse hung heavy. The truck was piling up with ash. Lana got the dogs in the Chevy, and Grant counted out their petty cash. If times are ending, then time is bending. Flames rain down from the sky, while the dogs knock out with Grant exhausted. Lana stays awake to cry. 120 out but Labor Day, and that means cooking meat outdoors. Guy got distracted and fire got away. Now from Bradford to Arcadia, they curse his name. Fire chased them west and down the incline until they reached the foothills below. They found a room cheap for the night online. At least now they had someplace to go. Tomorrow they'd evaluate their options now that their life had burned away. Lana's sister has a place in Laughlin. Wasn't really any more to say. If times are ending, then time is bending. Flames rain down from the sky. And while the dogs knock out with Grant exhausted, Lana stays awake to cry. While the dogs knock out with Grant exhausted, Lana stays awake to cry. That's pretty good too. Pretty good. You're working your way up to not too bad. Well, thanks. That'll be my happiest day ever. When I get to not too bad there, sport, I'll be thrilled. We need to see. We need to know. We need to pen happenings down by our means to judge a logic to life we devisively unlike and for which we'll rarely budge. People everywhere gather up, enemies outraged at how they miss a sign. How do they set their priorities? These fire and backstabbing entities into win Arctic and misery, follow necessarily from their savage ways. Insulting, cursing, and misery, we're stuck with such petty larceny. We are prisoners in the rectories and call it misery. Hoping Julie will do. Jerry shares for 4 minutes. He just can't share things like they do. And Julie always thought that she should have bought 2 when she had the chance to buy. Julie always thought that she'd found out, although she I recall, she'll die. It's really fast. People everywhere gather up, enemies outraged at how they miss a sign. How do they set their priorities? These foreign backstabbing entities into win heartache and misery, follow necessarily from their savage ways. Insulting, Carson and Desiree, we're stuck in such petty larceny. We all precision the rectories and call it destruction of the whole damn world. Boom. That was obviously a little too fast, but I don't know. It's fine, except I'm still working back in this fingernail. It doesn't seem like maybe it's going to fall off, actually, this finger I smashed. If I could really, really, really nail that at that speed, it would be pretty awesome. I'm going to try it one more time, just for kicks. I messed up so much that time. We need to see. We need to hear. We need to pen happenings down by our need to judge a logic to life we devisively unlike and from which we'll rarely budge. People everywhere gather up, enemies outraged at how they miss a sign. How do they set their priorities? These fire and backstabbing entities into an heartache and misery, follow necessarily from their savage ways. In Ireland, Dog to Desiree, we're stuck with such petty larceny. Let me start this part over. People everywhere gather up, enemies outraged at how they miss a sign. How do they set their priorities? These foreign backstabbing entities into win heartache and misery, follow necessarily from their savage ways. Insulting, Kirsten and Desiree, we're stuck in such petty larceny. We all partition the rectories and call it destruction of the whole damn world. Judy shares now her limits. Hoping Very shade for 4 minutes. You just can't share things like they do. And Judy always thought that she should have bought 2 when she had the chance to buy. Judy forgot about should and ought, although she ever call, she'll die. People everywhere gather up, enemies outraged at how they miss a sign. How do they set their priorities? These foreign backstabbing entities into win heartache and misery, follow necessarily from their savage ways. Insulting Kirsten and Desiree, we're stuck in such petty larceny. We open shit like threes and call it and destruction of the whole damn world. Boom! It's too fast, but a fun challenge anyway. Okay, well, for those of you who stuck around through all of that, you are truly troopers and saints of the highest order who deserve, have earned, and are enveloped in my grand appreciation. For those who didn't stick around, I understand. You don't want to listen to me play the guitar. I get it. Okay. That's it for me today. Thanks for being here, everybody. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese and so forth.